Good afternoon, everyone. Welcome to today's edition of Blue Talk, of today's edition of our webinar. We have today an enterprise business webinar. Today we're talking about scaling your business in challenging economic times. And we have a power-packed session today. We have some very important people from the Stanbic IBTC community who have come to share some nuggets with us. We also have a special guest who's an active player in the SME space within the country, who's also going to share some perspectives for us today. As we tune in, we can also join in on YouTube for those of us who might be having connectivity issues on Zoom. If you search for the Stanbic IBTC YouTube channel, you'll be able to find this webinar streaming live there. You can ask questions during this webinar, so you can type them directly in the Q&A box right here on Zoom or on YouTube, and we will look through the questions. And if time permits, we'll be able to answer as many as we can during the session. Just moving on quickly, we hope we can wrap everything up within 1 hour. Like I said, even though it's a power pack session, we have a team of panelists. I'll be introducing them in a bit. But before we start, I'd like to give the floor to the Chief Executive of Stanbic IBTC Bank, Mr. Wole Adeniyi, to give us the opening welcoming address.
Thank you, Taiwo, and good afternoon, ladies and gentlemen. I welcome you to this enterprise banking webinar, where we shall be discussing how the current business terrain affect the operation of SMEs in Nigeria, while we deliberate on requisite solutions that will enable them to surmount the daunting challenges. We cannot overemphasize the vital role SMEs play in growing countries' economies globally, as they contribute to both wealth and job creation, and by extension, universal economic growth. A report by PwC stated that SME contribute 48% to national GDP. They account for 90% of businesses and 84% of employment in Nigeria. The National Bureau of Statistics also reported that about 17.4 million SME account for 50% of industrial jobs and 90% of employment in the manufacturing sector. Despite it, several issues have plagued the SME terrain in Nigeria and have constituted obstacles to the growth of SMEs. These challenges range from regulatory issues to lack of innovative solutions and access to adequate business finance, especially in developing countries like ours. The most recent turbulence I've seen the COVID-19 pandemic and the volatile economy, both of which have taken their toll on SME, leaving some of them either completely shut down or struggling to survive. As a business entity, Stanbic IBTC understands that running a business is not a bed of roses, and the challenges differ from one business ecosystem to another. The webinar was organized to feel the pulse of Nigerian SMEs, enlighten you about the current solutions we have, and highlight the available opportunities you can take advantage of. As you learn of the opportunities, we also look into other pain points, which will enable us to seek more solutions to help surmount them. I implore you to maximize every opportunity that this webinar presents to grow your businesses and help boost our economy. Thank you, and I wish us a very happy deliberations.
Thank you very much, sir, for those words and inspiring words there. Before we move on into the panel discussion, we have no business operates in isolation, and I think it will be one of the things that we have planned for this webinar is to talk about the Nigerian economy, just give like an overview of the Nigerian economy. And to do that, we'll have Gbolahan Taiwo, who is Regional Economist West Africa at Stanbic IBTC Bank. Gbolahan.
Thank you very much, Wole, and good afternoon to everyone. I mean, my job here, I believe, is perhaps one of the easiest. I'm just here trying to paint a picture of the macroeconomic environment for us to see. And, I'll leave Ayo and Ife to do the other work and the bigger liftings and trying to, speak to the theme of this webinar.
Very
But I
modest,
guess
are we?
to start off, right? So I guess to start off, right, from a growth perspective, I mean, what do we see or what have we seen given last year, given the pandemic? And the chart you'll be seeing next now would be a chart showing, historical economic growth, right? You would see how growth has performed over the past few years and where we are. Of course, the pandemic has disrupted things. The way I like to put it is, Nigeria came into the pandemic with a lot of pre-existing vulnerabilities, talking about high inflation, balance of payment problem, unemployment, a lot of all of those things, and all of those things were worsened by the pandemic. So it is supposed to be a year of recovery. It is supposed to be a year where recovery is supposed to start to pick up gradually. So would expect that will continue to happen. For some reason, I can't see my slide. I don't know if Taiwo is moving through it. Okay, thank you.
I'm moving
So
through
from a
them, yeah.
growth perspective, I mean, we see, okay, so from a growth perspective, we expect economic recovery this year, and we're looking for growth somewhere around the 3% levels. And why is that? We think a lot of that would be base effects. There was a significant contraction last year, and we'll start to see some recoveries this year. When you look across most economies around the world, it was a similar trend. You saw quite a bit of impact. You saw quite a bit of impact in terms of the economy and the impact on the economy from the pandemic. And now the expectation is that there will be a recovery this year. So that exactly is what we are saying. Those next chart is showing, a lot of the contractions that we saw last year are now recovering. The manufacturing sector, I think, is one key sector that is now recovering. From the Q1 numbers, that sector is now back up about 3.4%. So, I mean, when you look at this very rough graph here, as pretty charts and lines, it's just to say that, that significant contraction that we saw for most of last year, we're not starting to see recovery. Of course, there are still challenges like the FX liquidity challenges that would continue to come up, but that in some ways getting resolved one way or the other. We think that for most of this year, you will see the services sector recover more meaningfully. On the next chart, it's basically saying what the problems, and I think that we all here would know. I mean, it's no gainsaying the fact that crude oil is a very significant factor, a very significant commodity in the Nigerian economy. But what I just want to typically show here is these two charts. Now, the chart on the left shows you how significant from an export point of view crude oil is, and you're seeing that as high as 80 and at times almost 90%. I mean, if you had crude oil and gas, probably because it's closer to 90% of exports. But the chart to your right, you would see that agriculture, in fact, is actually the biggest sector in the Nigerian economy. When you juxtapose the two, you're trying to think, I mean, if agriculture is the biggest sector in the economy, you should actually be seeing a more significant contribution to export from agric, but that is not the case. Now, when you look at the green bar, which is the oil sector, it's just less than 10% of the Nigerian economy. And basically, one of the key issues here, the over-dependency on oil. And I think, again, this is not new to anyone. I'm just here painting the picture for us to see it. When you move further to imports on the next slide, imports, for instance, is largely manufactured goods, and the chart on the right shows that very clearly. So it means that a lot of our imports are fully manufactured goods. Again, when we want to start talking about the conversation around the Africa Continental Free Trade Agreement, all of those things, does Nigeria have enough productive capacity? Maybe not yet, maybe not quite, because a lot of the things that obviously that we produce or that we import rather are manufactured products. And another key point to highlight here on the next slide is foreign direct investment, right? And how low foreign direct investments have been over the past few years. And this is very critical. And it's basically exemplifies the tough terrain and the tough operating environment that we find ourselves in. When you look at that, you look at FDI has averaged about less than $1 billion in the past 4 or 5 years. And this is FDIs that would typically be not of $4 or $5 billion, even from 5, 6 years ago. Again, that's a concern. The key question is, why is that happening? Why have we seen a significant decline in foreign direct investment into the Nigerian economy? Is it security issues? Is it cost of doing business? All of these are things that would put it back. One of those key factors, of course, is the FX situation of the country. When you look at the next slide and you see the FX chart on the right and on the left, you will see how the currency has depreciated in the past year, thereabout. You've seen the parallel market above 400. Just before I got on this webinar, I got news that the parallel market has now come down to about 480, 485, sort of the CBS comfort levels, if you like. But you will see that there is still that premium between the parallel market and what the IEFX market is. But the chart on the right is the more critical one, basically because you're seeing how liquidity in the FX market has declined quite considerably. And obviously, these are things that we think that the CBN, over the course of the next few months, is going to continue to try to resolve. Monetary policy, from that perspective, and you can talk about, when talking about monetary policy, you're talking about inflation. And inflation has been high and sticky. But our point here is that, there is not so much monetary policy can do to bring down inflation, because inflation is mostly supply side and supply shocks driven. When you look at high food inflation, which in the past couple of months we started to see it subside, has been what has been driving inflation up significantly. And there's very little monetary policy can do to that part. So you need improvement in that. You need improvement in all of those to start to make things up from an inflation point of view. So the CBN, for all intents and purposes, will likely continue to manage the liquidity situation in the market from a monetary policy point of view. And inflation, we still think will be sticky, but base effect from last year will mean inflation will start to come off. When you start to get to the harvest season, closer to Q3, Q4, you should see inflation come down more meaningfully as food prices reduce. Finally, on the next slide, just to touch on, the fiscal situation of the country. And everyone knows this, everyone will tell you, ignore that chart on the left, focus more on the chart on the right. And you've heard people, fiscal managers in the country say, Nigeria doesn't have a debt problem, Nigeria has a revenue problem. And that's quite right. I mean, and it's not just Nigeria. You have a lot of African countries that are struggling to mobilize domestic revenues, and that's a key concern. And for revenues to start to improve, and this is the bane of my message here, is that we need some fiscal and monetary policy alignment here. What do I mean? If the fiscal side, or if the monetary policy side, for instance, says we are embarking on an accommodative monetary policy stance, that is not the time for fiscal authorities to be tightened. That is the signal for fiscal authorities to start to say, what can we do to get that liquidity that is coming from the monetary policy easing and use it to create economic activities and ensure things start to move. The final chart, which I would show, is basically the pain the consumer is feeling. And I'm sure we all can allude to that. You talk about inflation, you talk about purchasing power, and how all of that have been impactful over the past few years. I mean, in the past, between the last 5, 6 years, you've seen multiple depreciation in the Nigerian economy happen. The currency, you've seen subsidy removal, whether it happened for a short period of time or it's back, border closures, that now opened electricity sites. All of these continue to put pain on the consumer. And you just continue to wonder when the consumer will start to get some relief. And here really is just a picture of the Nigerian economy and the Nigerian state currently, cost of doing business. And if I take a couple of step backs in my mind to look at that picture again, where you have all contributing significantly to exports, but not as significant for growth. And it is the major driver of FX situations in the market. You just wonder, and I think it's clear, when people ask me the question, diversification, and that's what everyone will say, that the Nigerian economy needs to diversify. This chart here, nice chart, is the major driver. Shows you that to a large extent, you probably see that the Nigerian economy is diversified. But what it lacks is investment, which of course is shown in that foreign direct investment picture. Private sector activity has not picked up. Foreign direct investors are not willing to invest as much in the country. The cost of doing business is high. The operating environment is not that great. So a lot of challenges to put forward here, right? But my own job here is to paint the picture, however ugly it is. And I apologize to Ayo and Ife for the tough work that they're going to do next in trying to make all of this, look better. But I think that the whole essence of this webinar is to, despite all of that, all of the concerns that we've seen, the tough business operating environment, the high inflation, the purchasing power issues, all of that, to still be able to see how we can make things work in Nigeria, because we can make it work. And that's why Stanbic IBTC is organizing this. So Taiwo, with these very few points of mine, I hope I've not been able to disconvince people about the state of the Nigerian economy. So I'll yield back to you now, Taiwo. Thank you very much.
Thank you, Bola, for that. I mean, I like the way you arranged the slides, and at the end, this final picture just tells it all. Because I mean, I was beginning to get worried that all the numbers and the terminologies, wouldn't people just get thrown off? But in the end, this is what sums it up. This particular slide as to saying, how does it affect you? And I like the way you tied it up there. Thank you very much for that, Bola. At this moment, it's time to then go into our panel discussion there. And Bola will be joined by Ifedro Simiesi, who is the founder of AGS Tribe, and Ayodele Ojoshikwe, head enterprise banking. And we will be delving into certain, conversations around this very crucial topics of what we're talking about here. So let me see how do we start this conversation? Are we there? Bolawo, can we see you on camera? Bolawo, Ayodele, and Ife. Can you guys come on?
Hi, Taiwo. Good afternoon. Afternoon, everyone. I'm on. I don't know if you can see me. Can you hear me?
Yeah.
Hello, good afternoon, everyone. I'm here as well.
Yeah, so 1 second. Okay, great. Bolawo, can you come on camera, please? Can you come back? I know you said a lot of the tough work is left for them to do, but we won't let you go just yet.
Don't worry,
okay,
I'm here.
Great.
I'm here. Apologies.
Okay, great. So, I mean, just very quickly, Ayo, can you just tell us how you, from your experience and interacting with SMEs, how do you think the pandemic has affected a lot of SMEs, and what do you think the post-pandemic era is looking like?
Thank you very much, Taiwo, and thanks, Bola, for that excellent presentation. Like Bola rightly mentioned, the pandemic that hit us met some pre-existing economic issues, and what that has done is exacerbate an already bad situation. So a lot of SMEs have been really hit. A lot of SMEs in the past 1 year have closed. Is the lockdowns that we saw across the country, where markets were also short, resulted in demand and supply gaps, and even though the situation has abated now to an extent, the important effect of all of that on the SMEs is still very profound. Like Bola mentioned, we see the inflationary impact already. We see the with fluctuation and devaluation and effects against our currency affecting our SMEs. So that has led to capital inadequacy for SMEs. The same amount that you used to buy a particular amount of goods a year ago is not what to buy that same amount of goods. So that means they will need more funding. Also, there's increased costs, port congestion, increased cost of doing business, power cost, everything has gone up. All of this has continued to create challenges for SMEs. And unfortunately, in a lot of the cases, they're not able to pass this cost to their customers, to their off-takers. So you see a margin compression, or in some cases, losses. They're selling at losses or reduced margin. Sincerely, I don't think there's anything like pandemic. I think we should take it as our new malaria, something that we'll keep treating until we find a permanent solution to this. We hear of the different waves that are being discovered in different parts of the globe. I think there's a third wave now that is emerging in some areas of the globe, and only God knows how far that can spread. Also, this does not mean, again, that it's all a gloomy, doomy situation. I think there are still opportunities, right, that SMEs in their immediate business environments can take advantage of and take the market. Thank you. Taiwo, you're on mute, Taiwo. You're on mute, Taiwo.
I'm sorry. I'm trying to get rid of some of the lot of static and background noise. Thank you for that, Ayodele. Ife, I'm going to come to you now and say, from your own perspective, we've heard from the banker's perspective. We want to hear from the consumer perspective, and you fit into that mold of, you know, the SME we're trying to target now. What are some of the challenges that you faced, or that you think small businesses have faced from your interaction with a lot of small businesses?
Thank you very much for that awesome presentation. So from my own experience, and this is me even as an SME, and me even talking to 50,000 women who have businesses in Nigeria. One of the things at the top of mind that has affected us as SMEs is actually the exchange rate. Let's take me for example. In March last year, our revenue was increasing, everybody was happy and all of that. And then we decided, so we had a target to hit, I think, 1,000 members by the end of the year. But by March, we had hit 1,000 members. So we decided to build our own mobile platform, which is like a mobile app, right? And I was bent on the fact that I wanted a woman to build the platform because we have a female-led community. So the woman I got, coincidentally, she's Nigerian, but she's based in Canada. So she billed us in dollars, right? So my first deposit was fantastic, regular exchange rates, everything. But guess what? When it was time for us to pay the balance, thankfully, the balance was only like 30%. When it was time for us to pay the balance, like exchange rates had doubled. And this was between March and I think June or July. And I was like, oh my goodness, I talked and, I was lucky because I had like a WhatsApp conversation with her to say, this is the rates that we are agreeing on and all of that because we are paying you in dollars. But guess what? If I didn't have that WhatsApp picture to prove that, okay, we had agreed on a particular exchange rate, we would have suffered. But we even still suffered because she was like, this difference is too much. We have to come to an agreement because we didn't envisage this kind of devaluation of the naira and stuff like that. So we had to come to like an agreement to say, okay, this is how much, this is the exchange rates we both are going to use. We cannot use the regular exchange rates which the abokis and stuff are using, and we cannot use the previous exchange rates because it would have been a loss to her. So the exchange rate was a huge challenge, and we didn't have just the pandemic in Nigeria. We also had EndSARS. So a lot of things, have increased, because of that. Another issue we are finding hard right now as SMEs is hiring of the right talent. It's so difficult finding the right people to do the jobs they are trying to do. Right now, we are trying to pivot to fintech just to get the people to say, okay, let's say like a CFO, to say, okay, come assist us, come and work with us and all of that. It's so difficult finding the right people. You cannot pay them because you're still a startup. Or you're still like a small business. It's difficult for you to find, the right people for the right price. So building that team of talented individuals to actually scale your business or take your business, even if it's the next level, is also, a very, very difficult issue that, SMEs face, whether we're even in post-pandemic era or, even in regular times. It's very, very difficult for an SME. Another issue we're finding hard is the current infrastructure and even the state of affairs in the country. Right now, since the whole EndSARS and the pandemic, we've seen a lot of issues with kidnapping and all kinds of things. So it's even difficult when you're even trying to hire. When you're trying to hire, you're thinking, okay, is this staff living close by? Is this person going to be traveling from a long distance? How long is it going to take a person to come to work? Because I've had instances of people saying, their staff was going back home and maybe they had to take public transport or maybe get into a car, maybe those cars that you flagged down, let's say at Lekki toll gates going going to wherever you're going to, and some people have gotten kidnapped. So you're thinking about all those things. What is going on? Why are we having bad roads? Why don't we have light to help us power, some of our systems? I used to run a startup that we used to do furniture for children. How are we going to ensure that we have light to actually build? So all those things, add up, diesel cost and all that, just because our infrastructure were not there yet. Security is also an issue, that SMEs face. Then there's also the issue of bribery and corruption. Some people are bringing in raw materials, it's stuck in customs. Before custom releases it, sometimes you might have to drop a tip or two. Those things, they eat into your bottom line. So are we going to get to the point where we now have to start adding tips and stuff to our, expenses and all that? What can we do? So these are some of the challenges that we are facing as SMEs. And last but not the least, I don't like to mention it first, because if you have the right products, you would actually get funding. But funding is actually an issue, not just for the general, SME space. For women in particular, 89% of investors that are currently available globally are all men. So it's just easier for them to give money to their male counterparts, because they understand the challenges that, men face. But when you come to like female business owners, it's different. Like the questions they even ask you when you're trying to raise funding is very, very different. You're already on the defensive, because of the kind of questions that they're asking you. So all these challenges, they're very, very difficult. They put a barrier when you're trying to scale as a business. So those are some of the things that I wanted to, itemize, because, we have to get to a point where we can actually scale our businesses, easily as a Nigerian business owner. Thank you.
Yeah, first, I have a feeling that if we had more time, you have a lot more to unpack for us. But great. I mean, great points. I mean, in terms of security, funding, and finding the right
hiring of talent,
and then foreign exchange, the impact of foreign exchange, which I think Gbolahan mentioned, in his overview of the economy. But so this next question is general, because it's not exactly, there's no right or wrong answer. I think it's pulling all thoughts together. But I'd like to start with Gbolahan. Gbolahan, what kind of strategies do you think SMEs can apply, to drive growth in their businesses?
Oh, that's a tough question. I mean, listening to you first speak just now, I'm wondering if I can ever even set up a business in this country at all with all of those challenges. I mean, sitting on the outside, you're a consumer. You just want service, right? You just want things to happen, and then you probably need to go to the other side and feel the pain, particularly in this sort of difficult operating environment that we find ourselves in. And I think it is very critical. I mean, in light of COVID, right, and everything that has happened in the past year, in fact, I dare say in the past 5-6 years, largely because, we had the first oil price crash in 2014, 2015. That sent, the currency that, you felt so pained about spiraling by over 70% at that point. And we've had a similar, well, not up to 70%, but we've had a similar sort of depreciation over the past year as well. And the truth is, I'll be honest, and I'm sorry again, I'm trying to make your job more difficult. It's not going away. It's not going away. The Naira is going to continue to be on that depreciation spiral. Why? Like I said in the presentation, if we continue to focus on one product, it means that our economy is not diversified enough, or lacks investment, as the case may be. It means that if oil is still our major source of foreign exchange, then if anything happens to oil, this sort of situations would continue. And I guess the question we need to ask ourselves is, have we seen anything in the now that suggests to us that 5 years from now, if you have another pandemic or another oil price crash, the same things will not happen? And that's why, I brought up the issue of your fiscal and monetary policy coercion. You need policies to drive key things in those sectors for standard of living to start to improve, for economic activities to pick up. But as an SME, in my little mind, I would say one of the things that you probably want to do is to look at other cost lines, right? If top line is not great, because, like we said, consumer purchasing power is eroded, aggregate demand is not as strong. Then do you want to look at other cost lines that perhaps you can cut on? So that at least, I think I already talked about margin compression earlier, so that at least you can reduce those pressure on margins. Are there any other costs that come in your books that you think, okay, do I need 10 of these? Do I actually cut it down to 4? Are there substitutes to these things that I use, for instance, that I can get cheaper? Can I source some things locally as opposed to having to import them? Those are a few things, strategies that everyone could start to look at in this business, is to say, let me start at least protect my margins for the time being until things stabilize. That would be my own contribution that I would. Thank you.
Thanks. I mean, spoken like a true banker. I mean, there's no, just watch your cost margins. Everything is about the pennies at the end of the day. Ayodele, what advice do you have for us? I hope we're going to get one of those your illustrations today.
People are not smiling these days, man. Just to add to what Bola said, and also Ife earlier, I mean, this is a time that as business owners, things need to be done differently. And for me, 4 key areas that need to be looked into is 1, your business dynamics, how you service your clients, how you manage your people, and your partnerships. On your business dynamics, just like Bola said, 1 key thing you must look at is your cost line. How do you manage your cash flows? How do you optimize it? If you were doing credit sales before, you may need to revert to cash and carry. Also your loans, you can restructure them, ask your banks for payment moratoriums, and interest rate reduction and all of that. Rental fees and all of that. Do you really have to pay that rent this year? If that business premise is not bringing income, if what you're just doing there is using it as an office, you could as well do it from your house. We've had feedback from a couple of SMEs that have done that, and business has actually improved because staff are working from also their own homes and they're able to push on their targets and all of that. Your clients, what do they want? You must innovate with your clients in mind. Very, very important. How do you solve for them? How exactly do they want to be served? How reachable are you? So you see SMEs with phone numbers on the Instagram and web pages and social media, and you're calling those numbers, they're not being picked up. The people that we put in charge of those lines, are we sure they're doing their bits? We need to be on top of all our people to ensure that our clients are being serviced. Then on our people, like Ife said earlier, we must be able to repurpose our people and upskill them. You must be able to keep your talents at this time, because it's not easy to replace talents. It's not easy to get good people. Also, you must engage them. Let them know what is happening. If you have to reduce salaries, which nobody wants, you really need to engage them, as much as we don't want to advise layoff and all of that. Some businesses have to do that. But again, for the ones you are paying, you must demand productivity. Then your partnerships, you must look for the right partnerships. Banks, logistics companies, marketing partners, and all of that. You must look for the right alliances and partnerships. Thank you.
Thank you for that, Ayo. I mean, as usual. Anife, any words from an insider perspective?
Yes. So just understanding, obviously, from all the challenges and how other businesses were able to, come up with growth strategies. One thing I would like to say is Operation Pivot. You are not a tree. You're an SME and you're an entrepreneur as well. So you have to consistently look for ways to stay relevant, right? So for example, fashion designers who probably used to make dresses and all of that before, during the pandemic, they started making nose masks. Some people, multinationals, increase their manufacturing capacity to start doing hand sanitizers. You have to continue to stay relevant. So you have to pivot to what people want at this point in time. So if pivoting if it's to pivot, then you need to pivot. So for example, originally we're a community, and our community has been fantastic. We've grown to over 13,000 users and everything. But because we understand the times and everything that is going on, we're pivoting to fintech, and we're looking for ways we can offer the same customers new products and offerings. And we've tested the pivot and we've seen how much we're able to make. So it's important for you to seek for new opportunities to continue to stay relevant. One. Secondly, another thing I'd like to say is, Operation Stay Afloat. So it might not even just be that, you have to continue, having the largest market share, blah, blah, blah. Just try to stay afloat in these current times. Like, things are hard enough. Just come up with different ways to continue being in the face of your customer. So for example, what we did in this whole COVID times, we're able to come up with different webinars like this, for example, and they helped us to remain at the top of mind of all our customers. So by the time, people now started getting new jobs, people started, increasing their disposable income, we now started getting new influx of people, into our community. But if we're not relevant in the times of COVID, if we not, double up on our webinars and all of that. So before we used to do bi-weekly webinars, so 2 webinars a month. But because of COVID, we knew people had time on their hands and all of that. We increased it to 4 times a month, so which is weekly. So now we do our capacity building workshops every week. Another thing we also did was we introduced a new product. So we started something called Untold Stories of Failure. Every Tuesday, people were glued to their screen. We're bringing in, different people, different, and respected faces to come and talk to people about their own journey, so that just to keep them motivated, especially during the current time. So from the beginning of the pandemic, we brought somebody like Mr. Hakim Bello Osage, who came to our community and told us, don't think this thing is going away in 3 months. Prepare for 2022. So we already knew that from day one that, let's just try to stay afloat. Things are hard, and it's not just in Nigeria. Things are hard everywhere. The pandemic is affecting everybody. Another growth strategy you can use is collaborate. You need to collaborate with people that complement the services that you're offering. So for example, I like to use stories because it's easier for people to understand what I'm saying instead of just being theoretical. So collaborate with other people that complement your services. So for example, I used to run a furniture business, right, for children. There are companies that do like kids photography and all of that. We collaborated, we came together and said, you know what, if people buy furniture from us, we would give you a share revenue, like on the back end, but on the front end, customers get a free photo shoot. Who wouldn't jump on that? You say, okay, when your baby is 1, because we're doing kids furniture, so we used to make cuts and stuff. When your child is 1, you get a free complimentary photo shoot just because you patronize us, at the birth of your baby. So that's some of the ways that you can use. So, and guess what? We have the same target audience. So I'm able to leverage the audience or leverage the customers that person already has, and they're also able to leverage my customers, not that we're snatching customers for them. So it's very, very important for you to collaborate, even collaborating on webinars. So the kind of people that we're also bringing on board, they also had like a huge following. So because they had a huge following, their target audience would see what we're doing, and more people are introduced to our product. So it's important for you to collaborate at this time. Also, offer valuable free capacity building workshops. There is once you can have it paid, but if you have free workshops, more and more people, and especially if it's valuable, they'll hear more about you, and that way in the long run, it also adds to your bottom line. So it's important for you to be able to leverage these strategies and ensure that you're using it to grow your business. Avoid taking too many debts at this time, because there are a lot of people giving out loans and all that, recovery loans, blah, blah, blah. Understand how your money comes in, understand how you spend, understand your patterns. And if it's not going to pay you in the long run, there's no need to take that loan. There are people who are giving out grants. Like last year, my company AGS Tribe, we gave out a grant to people who were affected by the pandemic. I think we gave about 22 people grants. There's also LSCTF, they're giving out grants. There's also Facebook also gave out grants last year. So you look for these opportunities and tap into them. Opportunities are not going to fall on your laps. You have to do the right thing so that when those opportunities come, you are better positioned and you're qualified to be able to take up all those opportunities. Also join accelerator programs. There's Acumen Fellowship currently going on, the Mandela Washington. There are different opportunities. Once you get into those programs, they introduce you to a new market, and that way your business is easier for you to scale or tap into a new market or get your product into a new market. So that's some of the strategies that you can use as an SME to scale your business at this time. Thank you.
Thank you, Ife. To our audience, to our viewers, I did promise you it was going to be power-packed session, and we can see how all our panelists, are spewing out the rhymes, as in, imagine it was a rap music. So, but I think key points there from everybody. I mean, watch your bottom line, try to reinvent yourself, collaborate when necessary. If you don't need that office space, you give it up and then work from home. Let everybody work remotely. And just essentially protect yourself in whichever way, shape, form, or fashion you can protect yourself. I want to go to something now. I think Ayo, this might be best suited for you. Last year, we had 2 different acts, enacted. One was the Finance Law of 2020, and one was the CAMA Act of Finance Act of 2020, and another one, the CAMA Act of 2020. Do you want to also tell us a bit about that and how it affects us as SMEs, and what the slight differences are within those acts?
Okay. Again, thanks, Taiwo. So the Finance Act is actually a very broad act. It's a broad document that takes care about 14 different acts of the federal government. But the three that I think really impacts small businesses is the Company Income Tax Act, that's CITA, Personal Income Tax Act, PITA, and then Companies and Allied Matters Act. So for the CITA and PITA, that's Company Income Tax and Personal Income Tax, the key changes there are that small businesses with turnover less than 25 million will no longer have to pay taxes. Before now, all businesses were required to pay taxes. Also, businesses with turnover less than 100 million don't need to provide audited financials in filing their taxes. So there's no need to appoint auditors. So SMEs can save that cost. Minimum tax now is put at 0.5% of turnover. There was no limit to that before. So that's the minimum, 0.5% of turnover. For the Companies and Allied Matters Act, for me, that was a very good one because in the past 30 years, the federal government had not reviewed that act. So you can imagine all through the technological changes that we've seen, the same procedure, the same thing was being done. So the first thing that I'll speak to there is that under the new CAMA Act, in section 18, subsection 2, business owners are now required, or are now allowed rather, to register a company with a single director or a single shareholder. That might sound small to some people who have not fallen victim of certain issues, but for me, I think that's a very good one because we've had cases where business owners would have to put their minors, their kids on their boards, and when they need to borrow, they need to start filing to CAC to remove those kids, and that takes a lot of time, cost them money. Also, I've had a case of an SME that I'm aware of. At the time I was registering the company, he didn't have kids, he didn't have a wife, his only sibling lived abroad, so he used a friend on the board of the company. And years later, the business did so well. That friend that didn't contribute anything, any capital to that business, came back to claim his share. He said, look, you have to pay me off. The guy had to settle some tens of millions. And so this kind of act, amendment saves that kind of situation. Also, in the new CAMA Act, electronic signatures are now allowed. So SMEs can sign and scan documents to stakeholders, to their banks, to government parastatals. Of course, some parastatals may want you to regularize, but they can proceed with the electronic signatures. So today we also do that already. Virtual meetings are now recognized. The use of company seals are no longer mandatory. It's now optional. If you don't have a company seal, you can proceed with whatever document you have, a board resolution or some sorts. Also, electronic copies are now accepted as CAC, so you can file your documentation as CAC electronically. You don't need to be present there physically in Abuja to do that. Also, electronic share transfer is now allowed. So all of these things are the amendments to the CAMA Act and the Income Tax Act that I think have worked in favor of SMEs. Some in favor, some not. Thank you.
Thank you very much. We're pressed for time, so we'll take one more question spread across the panelists. We're gradually moving out or stepping out of COVID or figuring out what life is with COVID or without, after COVID. Like we've all alluded here, it's not something that is going away right now in that sense. And it seems as though some of the consequences, some of the things that happened are more of a consequence or were incidental rather than direct cause of COVID-19 in itself. Maybe as a country in Nigeria, we're already moving along certain trajectories, and COVID now came and even made it even more obvious in that sense. But what few things, I know that you've talked about collaboration, talked about a few things like that there, but right now you talked about grants, talked about even opportunities. So how do people find some of these opportunities? What's the one thing, if somebody came to you as a business owner now, to say two things, what are the two things you would tell them, to help them get back on track. So, okay, so let's start from Ife.
Okay, I was going to say I would like to start that, especially because this is what we've been doing. The first thing, if anybody came to me and say, "Oh, I'm an SME, blah blah blah, I want to get back on track," the first thing, and this is not even trying to promote, because he said, "Okay, where can they get some of those opportunities?" AGS Tribe community, like the community is absolutely fantastic, and I'm not even trying to. I can even say without even saying the name, like literally on our app. You get notifications every day of different opportunities, from grants to loans to jobs, all kinds of opportunities. So if you are looking to get back on your track, it's important to join either our community or any other community of entrepreneurs, people of like mind, people that you can bounce off ideas, around each other. Just 2 weeks ago, also attend events. Like you get a lot more opportunities, or you hear about more opportunities through events that are tailored to maybe your industry, for example. So for example, 2 weeks ago, I attended the launch of an app. And this app was even one of our beneficiaries. So I got there and I saw another woman who was already in fintech, and we're just lamenting about all the regulations and how government is trying to clamp down on new fintechs that are coming up and everything. How we were trying to access funding, get investments in the company, and she was like, "You know what, Ife, I'll recommend you for an opportunity or any opportunities that I see." I also saw people from Lagos Business School who also said the same. Within 1 week, she had recommended me for an opportunity which we have now tapped into, and is going to be announced within the next couple of weeks. We've already gotten it. So imagine if I didn't go to that program, or if I did not hear about it, I wouldn't even know that this opportunity or this organization or accelerator program existed. So it's important for you as an SME or somebody who is even trying to grow in your career or your business. It's important for you to be around like-minded people who can pass on information on relevant opportunities that can help you scale your business. You cannot do it alone. You're not an island. It's important for you to tap into these people. Tell people what you need. Are you looking for investment? Tell people you're not a tree. Move. Talk to people. Reach out to people on LinkedIn. I reached out to Visa. So right now we have cards that we give our members that they can use, so they're like ATM cards and all of that for our community. And guess what? I just literally typed in Visa into LinkedIn, and everybody who works in LinkedIn, who worked in Visa, came up, and I sent all of them emails on what I was trying to do, and I got a response, and everything is done now. So don't think, okay, I have to know somebody, or somebody needs to introduce me to so and so. If you're a person of value, trust me, opportunities will follow you, but you also have to be able to move. Don't think that opportunities are going to come and meet you. So yes, join communities, be around like-minded people, and you see how much of a difference it would make to your business. Thank you.
Networking. Thanks a lot.
Yes, super key. You meet somebody today, send them a message on either LinkedIn or Instagram, wherever you think you are very active. It's super important. Whatever you're doing now, don't just keep it to yourself. Post this webinar on your LinkedIn. Post what you learned from this webinar on your LinkedIn. Let people see that you even have sense. You can assimilate information, things like that. If you don't do that, when the opportunity is ripe, people might not be able to trace any track record. So it's important for you to be able to share this information, build your personal brand as well. It's super Thank you.
Thanks a lot, Ife. I appreciate that. Bolan, what's the one thing you can say? You can 2 tips or 1 tip.
Thank you, Taiwo. I like the way you turned my own to just 1, because I probably don't have many things to say.
I'll try to help you.
No, but I think that one thing I'm going to say, and it's just to piggyback on what Ife had said much earlier. I think one of the consequences of COVID, unfortunately, is that people have lost jobs, right? And people have lost jobs across the world, everywhere. And I think what would be key is relearning and retraining. If I kept saying you are not a tree, the world is evolving, right? I think that what will be critical at times, even for an entrepreneur, is to keep learning and relearning different skills. Now we're talking about moving away from oil to renewable energy sources and all of that. That could be 10 years away from us. That could be 20 years away from us. But it is the people that start learning and relearning on a few things that are going to evolve over that period that would be the first movers, and that would be the ones that will take advantage. So I think it is critical at this time that, whatever you think that, it's interesting, that you think that, could be the next frontier, that you think that could be helpful. I think it's important to keep learning and relearning new things, new ideas, and with that you realize that new things can keep popping up that would even be more useful to your business. So that would be my own one thing.
So I mean, spot on there. So learn new skills if what you currently have isn't really doing much in that sense. I mean, Michael Jordan at some point, I don't know how many went to basketball, but at some point went to play baseball. They came back to basketball. But it just shows there's nothing you can't learn or you can't adapt to in that sense. Thanks a lot, Bola. Very powerful tip. And I think it also addresses some of the questions around finding the right kind of talents to help grow your business in that sense. Ayodele, any one tip for
me?
I know you have more than one. But
for me, it'll be partnerships, right? You need to align with the right partners. I'm talking banks or finance institutions. Yes, business may be low now, but what are the other frontiers you could take advantage of? A bank that can link you to markets pan-Africa. You can even earn your revenue in dollars. We have platforms that I'm going to talk to where if you're producing an item, you're a creative creator, you create things in the creative industry rather, or you produce items that you can ship out to other countries. These are avenues of earning Forex such that the devaluation effect on your business is really reduced. And partnerships for funding, partnerships for capacity building, such that at this time you have the right linkages to help you wade through the crisis.
Okay, great. Great stuff. Thanks a lot, Ayodele. Sadly, we've come to the end of our panel discussion. It's been a very interesting one. But before we let our panel go, we have a ton of questions, and I mean a ton of questions. And because of time, we can't take every question. We'll try and just batch them as much as we can. So, so we'll start taking some of the questions from the panel here. So some people want to know, I think you talked about the Kama Act, so already Ayodele. So somebody wants to know how to get it for simplicity's sake. I don't know whether you can do that here. In terms
how to get what?
They want to understand the Kama Act in a more simpler way.
Oh, it's a real broad document. We just mentioned those things that make business engagements easier for SMEs. So we can take the information of that person. We'll reach out just to know what they need, and we can give them the insights they require. So please let me note that.
Okay. So I will note that down. Somebody's asking, Stanbic IBTC has shown no appetite for tech funding. Am I wrong?
Yes, very wrong. So for us as a bank, right, today we have a partnership with Founders Institute, which is one of the world's largest pre-seed accelerator. And we've been supporting the fintech industry. We have graduated about 4 cohorts, 80 graduates fintech. And part of the focus of that fintech support is to look at how do we provide funding? How do we give them access to market? Because again, it's not just about funding. How do we create access to market for them? From this pool of fintechs also, we have Founders Factory Africa with our parent company, Standard Bank of South Africa. We have invested $5 million in that project, and we feed from the pool of Founders Institute into our parent company's Founders Factory program, where they're getting access to finance, access to capacity building, and access to markets. On startup financing, if that's what he's talking about, we also have partners today that we're partnering to give funds to new startups in fintechs. So all of this we're doing, and we can also engage you one-on-one, look at your business, and also give you advice and support you. Thank you.
Great. Thanks for that. Somebody wants to know and says, look, business owners have already run into debt, but they're looking for a way forward. Is there anything you can do to support them?
Absolutely. I'm going to speak to it when I take you through our offerings. Just like somebody said in the comment section, one thing that enterprises need today is funding. They need funding, they need it fast. They want very fast TAT. They need it with limited documentation. They need it without collateral, and they want it cheap. All of these things are what SMEs want. And we have solutions in place that have solved those problems, where we can today deploy funds within 24 hours without collateral. Whether you're a Stanbic IBTC customer or not, that fund is available. And again, to the point that one of our audience members made on the platform on cheap funding, yes, it's a very critical focus for us. And we're partnering with government agencies. There are a lot of funds that you can take advantage of, whether you're in manufacturing, healthcare, or agriculture. All of these funds, we stand to advise you and help you access those funds so that you can get single-digit interest rates to fund your business.
Okay, also, I wanted to add to what he said as well. This is even coming from an SME point of view. I love the fact that Stanbic IBTC Bank, has come up with products beyond, regular banking products, right? So if you read Melinda Gates' book, you see that she said women cannot be empowered through bank accounts alone. So with their, I think it's called Blue Bosom. So with your Blue Bosom account, you've gone beyond just opening, a bank account for women. You guys actually do capacity building, and you've partnered with credible organizations. So I'm definitely going to look into that and see how, I can also tap into some of these opportunities. So if you're here listening, any SME, especially for a woman, if you're a woman, I think you should tap into some of those opportunities. And I've been using Stanbic for a while. They also help me with my pension, account. I see that they always come up with several products that, help SMEs beyond just regular banking. So it's important for people to know about its opportunities because they're not out there. You hardly even see, ads like that, for all these products. But if you're really looking to scale your business, it's important for you to look for, SME friendly banks like yours who can, help you as an SME. Thank you.
Thanks.
Okay, thank you. Brilliant. Just before we go and speak, some people are asking, can they get the recording of this afterwards? It will be available on YouTube. Just check the Stanbic IBTC YouTube channel. You'll find this available. It's streaming there live right now. So in case you want to watch it again, so it will be there. Some people are asking, do you give loans to SMEs? I think I can answer that. The answer will be yes. And the recordings, I think, will be sent by email as well. So somebody's saying that they've done a lot to achieve a 3x scale this year. I think 3 times the growth, and are seeking for right equity investor, venture capitals, angel investors. Do you know any that you can recommend? Ayodele, you talked about Founders Institute and the network of partners that you support. In that sense, like that, would this be something that you might be able to support them with?
Oh, absolutely. That's why we have that program. That's why we have those offerings. So we'll be willing to support them. Let's just get those details and we'll reach out to them and engage privately to understand what the solution is about and how we can partner.
Okay, brilliant. So we will share the details for you on how you can reach Stanbic IBTC Bank, with regards to some of your questions and some of the comments that you need. Because we're pressed for time, we want to move on to the next segment of this. We'll come back to some question and answer segment after Ayodele's presentation. He has something, something more, so please just stay tuned and we'll be right back.
Thank you, guys.
Thank you, Ife. Thank you, Bola, for such a powerful session.
Thanks, everyone.
Yeah, so
thanks, Bola.
So we have Ayo now, Ayodele, who's going to talk to us through Stanbic IBTC Enterprise Bank offerings. He's the head of enterprise banking. So he's the man to speak with, and he's here to share some nuggets. Over to you, sir.
All right. Thanks again, Taiwo, and thanks everyone for staying on with us. I'll just quickly take you through our offerings. I would attempt to land this in less than 10 minutes. So for us, one key thing is that we have tailored all our offerings in line with our customer personas. and also according to the voice of our customers. We listen to our customers and we solution for them. One key thing that we put in place is our capacity building sessions and programs. So we have an arrangement with the Lagos Business School, their Enterprise Development Center, and the Faith Foundation to train and develop SMEs every year. For us, it's very important. Of course, SMEs want funding, but even before funding, we believe that it is very imperative to ensure that SMEs have the right management skills and they're able to scale their business based on the insights they get from these engagements. And I've seen somewhere that if I mentioned that women are not really well represented, I can tell you that Stanbic IBTC is not in that category. In everything we do, we consider gender equality. So for the entrepreneurs that we send on these programs, we have about 40% female participation, and we intend to even scale that to 50 and then 60 as we go on. Next slide. These capacity building sessions exposes our entrepreneurs to business planning options, funding opportunities, market and computer analysis, cash flow optimization techniques, bookkeeping, product development and management, a lot of insights that makes them rounded business people. And we've had testimonies from this session saying that the kind of impact that session or these sessions have had on them is much more than any funding could have. We've had that feedback not once, not twice. So as much as we're not saying funding is not important, capacity building is very, very important for SMEs, and we take that very seriously. So this year we're training 5,000. Last year we did 3,000. We're training 5,000 entrepreneurs. And I can conveniently announce that for all those non-Stanbic IBTC account holders on this call, you qualify. We can allow you. That will be our pro bono for joining this session. So once you're able to come on board, open your account, you can go online, www.stanbicibtc.com through our quick service portal, submit your account opening documents, and once the account is open, we can list you so that you can proceed for this session. Next slide. Next is help me grow. Our customers are saying, help me grow, give me access to funding. And I know some of us will like this. For those that have been asking, what has Stanbic IBTC done? What are we doing? Today, we have an SME lending product for quick overdrafts and short-term loans available for 30 to 90-day tenor. You do not need any collateral, no financials, minimal documentation. Within 24 hours, you are able to access this loan to meet your short-term financing needs. You want to make working capital to buy goods. I talked about capital inadequacy earlier, or you want to clear your goods at the port and all of that. Quickly, within 24 hours, you can access this fund. And again, the interesting thing here is you do not necessarily have to be an existing customer of Stanbic IBTC Bank. It's also open to new to bank customers. So whether you are in your account with us already, you can qualify. Whether you're already with another bank, bring your documents, you qualify. We'll give you a certain percentage of your turnover. Also today, we have, and we're going to send the links in this on the chat room so that you can apply if you need those loans. Also today, we have what we call our SME Easy Cash solution. It's our digital pre-scored lending solution for SMEs. You do not need any documentation. You get the prompt, you enter the codes, and the funds are disbursed. That one, you can access 5 million naira maximum without collateral. On the SME lending one I mentioned earlier, that's 10 million maximum without collateral. So it pays to bank with us because as you bank, we're looking at your account activity, we're looking at how you run your account, and we're billing you funds as we see your need come up. Also, we have other loan products in conjunction with the DBN, the CBN, all the sector funds, CAX funds, healthcare funds, KIFI funds that you can access rather at single-digit interest rate. Next slide. The next thing our customers are asking for is make it easy for me to pay and receive. No customer wants to stand in the bank just to do a transfer, stand on queues on end, or leave their shops to go do a transfer, or start carrying cash all over. We have our app, our mobile app today that you can do any kind of transaction on, pay bills, do transfers, and all of that. Also, we have our enterprise online solution where you can do all your banking transactions, bulk payments to your suppliers, scheduled payments, everything is there. Our collections options are also available to you, our POS, our web pay. We can give you a link for SMEs to share with your customers to pay you online. We have our QR code offerings also. Next slide. Another very key one for us, where our customers have come back to us, that they need us to connect them to opportunities. Give me access to market. That is one key voice that we hear from our customers. And today we organize peer-to-peer matching sessions in our networking engagements, where we're able to pair our customers with customers either locally or in foreign countries for business ideas. We paired customers with entities in Ghana, Kenya, South Africa, China, and beyond. And that we keep also doing. We also have our trade club platform, where once we onboard you on that platform as a genuine customer of the bank, you can trade with anybody, agree terms, and goods are delivered to you. Also, for those who may not know, Stanbic IBTC is owned partly 61% by the Standard Bank of South Africa, and Standard Bank of South Africa, which is the biggest bank in Africa by assets, is in turn 20% owned by the Industrial and Commercial Bank of China, which is the biggest bank in the world. So that means ICBC China owns us indirectly about 14%. So we're able to leverage that linkage to also give our customers what we call our Africa-China agent proposition. In this proposition, we know the headaches of our clients that are importing from China. They want access to quality goods. They want good pricing. They want to see what they've ordered. You know that thing that they say, what I ordered and what I got. This one, what you order is what you will get. So there's a guarantee for whatever you order on that platform. It's called our ACAP solution. You can also key into it. We also have the export side to it, where, again, you would understand that particularly with China, they want a lot of imports, but people are not able to meet the volume. So we're able to aggregate and give you options for contract supplies to China, and then we match you with off-takers and you're able to execute your transactions. These are the opportunities that we give you. Next, we also have a lot of other opportunities. Just like Ife mentioned, our Blue Blossom Women product is very adaptable to women. It's only open to women, where you can access our unsecured loans also. And on that product, you even have a discounted fee of 0.5% on all loans that you get as a woman. Instead of paying 1%, pay 0.5%. Zero CAM fees, capacity sessions are also free for you. Then we have our sole trader accounts. Sole trader accounts are personal accounts that are run as businesses. So if you're trying to register your business today and you're having challenges, you're having delays, or you're having constraints, or you cannot wait because you have a business to run, come to us. We'll open an account for you in your personal name. You can run it as a business. You can take POSs on it, so long as you give us your team. Also, we have BSmart accounts where you can pay as much reduced charges as possible. We have zero CAM fees on our BSmart products. We have trade solutions. So our trade finance desk is one of the strongest in the industry, where we give you access to top-notch trade advisory services, blended rate solutions. You heard about the FX challenges that was mentioned earlier. We help you pushing all of these challenges. Also, we have a very active fintech support program that I spoken to earlier, where we're able to take fintechs from pre-seed acceleration stage to funding and support and access to market levels later. That will be all. But before I go, lastly and very importantly, today we have a platform business structure, where as a bank, all our products and services are available to you just by opening an account with us. So our stockbroking options, our pension options, our asset management solution, our trusteeship, our insurance, our investment banking, our custodial services, everything at a go, delivered to you, one-stop shop. Thank you very much. We look forward to hearing from you. Next slide, thank you. You can contact us on the details projected. Taiwo, next slide, so that our audience can see the details.
So yes,
so you can contact us on that email and that phone number. Thank you. Yeah. I'll stop here.
Thanks a lot, Ayodele, for very brief. I like to sharp, straight to the point. I think the details are email enterprisedirect@stanbicibtc.com, and the phone number is 01-422-0003. We'll share it again before the end of the session. We have a few questions for you, Ayo. I think some questions have come up before, and yeah. So I think you've addressed some of them, but just for clarity's sake, do you need a collateral to access Stanbic IBTC SME loan?
No, you don't. No collateral at all. Just based on your account activity, we're able to evaluate your business and give you a loan without collateral.
Okay, great.
You didn't have an account running with us. Just that, I must be emphatic on that. You don't need to have an account running with us. So long as you have that business running somewhere, you can bring it to us. We will fund you.
Brilliant. What do you call it there? So the other question is, what's the turnaround time for a Stanbic IBTC SME loan?
24 hours. Within 24 hours of application, you're able to access this fund. Within 24 hours, and give us all that we require, your bank statements, we evaluate it within 24 hours, we get approval and disburse to you. We have a process already in place. The line is very straightforward from the relationship managers straight to the business heads, the credit team. Within 24 hours, the loan is available. In the past 2-3 weeks, we've done 2 billion disbursements on that loan alone.
Brilliant.
Yeah, just to emphasize that. Okay,
so I think you also answered this as well. I think some of this. So you talk about the Blue Blossom account for women and some of the discounted loan fees there. So there are discounted loan fees for the Blue Blossom women account, I presume.
Sure.
Okay. I think we'll go back to some of the general questions that were asked on the floor. Again, people want to know how the bank can help small businesses. And I think Ayo has covered that in the broader sense of how the bank can help businesses. But more importantly, was something Ayo said in passing, which is the fact that there's a partnership with EDC and Faith Foundation, and that for capacity building, and that if any of our listeners, audience there, that there's a giveaway on that if you open an account with the bank, you don't need to have an account. You need to have an account before, but now if you open an account with the bank, as of today, you can be enlisted to enjoy these capacity training programs there, and at no cost to you, I presume. I mean, this is what do you call it there? This is wholly sponsored by the bank, if I'm correct, Ayodele.
Absolutely. Fully on the bank, all expense paid.
So if you're looking for, I mean, and the way he said it, I mean, I wanted to jump on when I heard it, but my video was off and I didn't want to distract everybody there. But if you're looking, yes, I am permitted to jump, I think, but the moment has passed. But if you're looking to get to get some more knowledge, to acquire more skills, and to grow your network, EDC is Enterprise Development, the Enterprise Development
Center of the Lagos Business School.
Of the Lagos Business School, and Faith Foundation as well. These are two renowned organizations that have been very instrumental in helping SMEs and entrepreneurs grow along their entrepreneurial journey in that sense. And I think that the bank doing this is something very novel. So you should tap into it. I'm also aware that the bank had also given out about some grants last year. And I think up to date, about 11 people have received certain grants as well. So we're not just
as disruption, yeah.
Yes, so we're not really just what do you call it there? We're not just pitching to you. We're telling you things that we've done and has helped businesses move forward. And as the Stanbic IBTC payoff says, it can be, which means just think it can be. Just have a conversation with us, and we'll have that go through there. I think we largely broadly covered a lot of the questions that have been asked today. And at this point, we would like to talk about, there's a giveaway here, and I'm just trying to seek a bit more clarity on it as well. Okay, so we're going to do like a poll now. You already have some of these answers because they've been answered indirectly or directly through some of the conversations we had. But we'll put them up shortly, and the top 2 answers will get gifts. The top 2 winners will get gifts from the bank. I don't know what gifts they are, but if you like winning free things, you can participate. If you want to be sure of which gift it is first, you can choose not to participate. So we'll set up the poll now while we call on Mr. Ahiba Emmanuel to come and give us the closing remarks. Thank you, Ayodele, for your time.
Thank you, my pleasure. There are still some questions in the chat room, so we'll start responding to them.
Yes, please. Mr. Emmanuel, you have the closing remarks, please.
Okay, thank you very much. Thank you very much. Well, this is to thank everyone on behalf of the management and staff of Stanbic IBTC Holdings PLC. So thank everyone for being present today, especially our SME clients. We know how valuable your time is, but you took our time to be here. We deeply appreciate your coming. We appreciate your support. We appreciate your business. Okay, and we appreciate the opportunity to also add value, to what you're doing. We wish it could have been longer, but we know that you have a few other things that we would like to do. Okay, we are delighted to have organized this webinar because we know and are very conscious of the importance of SMEs in Nigeria, both to the economy and to our own growth and development, which is why we pay attention to things like this. This is part of our strategy. It's not just something that we do sporadically. It's part of our strategy, to support you in this kind of way. Like Ayo said, and a couple of the other participants, capacity building is extremely important. That's why we don't just offer this kind of programs ourselves. We also partner, with organizations. If you were mentioned already, Lagos State Enterprise Trust Fund, Fitch Foundation, we partner with those organizations to offer this kind of, programs so you can benefit. I can't end by, if I don't repeat, our support, our lending programs that I mentioned. Please do take advantage. Do take advantage. Details have been shared. Don't just walk away. Take numbers, take email addresses, reach out to a branch, ask questions. Okay, and then you probably will qualify. There are overdrafts, about to 10 million advances, short-term loans. Please make sure you take advantage of this. People say it's difficult, to lend to SME, but we are breaking that myth. It's not true. SMEs can be trusted. Okay, and we are together ways of determining those that we can support, as they grow their business, recover from the pandemic. Someone who said, I'm already indebted, so how do I come out of it? Please just reach out. That is what I say to you. Don't participate in this kind of program and just really reach out to a branch, reach out to your account officer, send a mail to the email addresses that we're giving and phone numbers that you can get, and you can be sure that you will get support. We hope that this event has been tremendous in its benefit to you and your business. We trust that you gain some knowledge, that will be long-lasting, in our partnership. We have been honored to have you here. And I'd just like to say thank you once again for making this event possible. Thank you so much. Thank you.
Thank you very much, Mr. Emmanuel, for that, for those closing remarks. I want to say thank you to everyone. And the polls are running right now. See, some people have started answering. Like I said, I don't know what the gift is, but trust Stanbic IBTC to make it something memorable and something you will like. Want to thank everyone who has taken our time to attend. Want to thank our panelists. Don't worry, we'll announce the winners here before we go. Want to thank our panelists, Mr. Ayodele Ojoshikpe, Mr. Bola Ontayo, and Ms. Ife Durosimi Eti. It was a pleasure having these conversations with you. I thoroughly enjoyed myself. I enjoyed the lyrics, the business lyrics that you all spewed out today. And seeing from the comments and the chats that a lot of people are putting in, they said a lot of people are grateful and thankful for the time and the opportunity to be on here. I want to thank our guy at the top, Mr. Wale Adeni, who took out time from his busy schedule to be able to be here, and it shows how important SMEs are to the strategy of the bank. You know, I know he's constantly juggling different things and different meetings, but he made it a point of duty to be here because you're important to the bank, and he wanted to show that very much. I don't know, sir, if you wanted to say a few things before we round it up. No. Okay, so I think the opening remarks are good. So thank you, everyone, for attending. The poll will be ending in another 45 seconds. So we'll announce the winners here. And yes, so let's share again the contact details so that we know how to reach us. Enterprise Direct at Stanbic IBTC Bank, stanbicibtc.com. That's Enterprise, ENTERPRISE DIRECT at stanbicibtc.com. The phone number is 01 422 0003. Again, 01 422 0003. Or copy and paste in the chat so that you can also have it just in case. Just in case it might be easier to do that. Just copy and paste it in the chat for everyone. 1 second. Where's my chat box? Okay, here. Okay. So to panelists and attendees. So this is the email. And this is the phone number. So you can reach the Enterprise Banking Group on those details. Oh, I passed my time. So, okay, another 10 seconds. 10 seconds if you're still polling. 5, 4, 3, 2, 1. Poll has ended. So we need to pull the results of the poll. 1 second. Just 1 second. And we will share the results of the poll shortly. Ooh, there's a lot of people that answered. There are about what? 87, almost 100 people that answered the question. Ooh la la. How do we filter? 1 second. Give me 1 moment. I need to confer with the team and okay, so we're sharing the results of the poll now, and due to the overwhelming response from the poll there, it's impossible to sort out and identify the winners just right here, but we'll reach out to the winners of the poll. But as of now, we can all see the results of the poll. So thank you once again. Have a wonderful rest of the day. Until next time, bye-bye, and stay blessed.